Okay, we're going to do this live. Reacting to Rich. Episode 71, Who's Lying? Part 2. Let's see what we got.
Your host, as always, today, and we are on episode 71, Who's Lying? Part 2. Now, what we're going to do today is we're going to continue where we left off from episode 70 with the Basha Jabel interview that BryanSt.John did with her. And we also have Annie Oakley here, who knows Darlie Lynn very well and knows her family very well. And she was actually a babysitter to Darlie Lynn when she was an adolescent. And Annie, maybe you would like to fill in the rest of maybe what I'm missing there.
This is where she's going to clear up where I feel like she doesn't know them as well as she states. Like I said, I know that she did not attend any of the court. She did not attend any of the funeral. She did not go to the hospital. She has not been to see Darlie.
As far as your relationship with Darlie Lynn and her family.
Well, Darlene is the child of a very close friend of mine, her mother. And so I observed Darlie growing up, and our friendship, I would say we became friends once she became an adult. Before that, she was pretty much, a relationship that just a child I observed growing up. I wasn't like, giving her birthday presents and going to every event she ever participated in. No, of course, if I found out she did something, made a really good essay in school or something, and
I've been waiting all day.
I would read it and praise her, but I was not deeply involved in, never really have been in any of my friends' children. I mean, that's a little too far. I have my own children.
You did, though, at one point, there was a video where Rich asked you how Darlie was with Devin and Damon. And you gave this description as if you were her personal trainer and to how she treated Devin and Damon. I don't know what episode it's on, Kathy, but you did do this. You're contradicting yourself right now because he asked you how Darlie was with them.
Children and family. And my relationship was mainly with her parents. And
that would be Larry Peck and Darlie Peck at the time. Her dad was in Vietnam when Darlie was born.
But it's like she became a really wonderful adult, and I was very proud of her. So, that's my extent as far as friendship with her. And she considered me, this is a friend of my mom's, and now that I'm older, we're also friendly. And she loved my kids and used to babysit my children when she was a teen. So, and my kids were close in age to her sisters. So they often played together, and then Darlie watched them.
So basically, you knew her as a teenager.
So as far as the relationship goes and how I knew her, so I feel like I'm a little bit more removed and less biased than someone who was her friend early on.
Well, Kathy, you're very biased. I've debated with you in several different names. You're very biased when it comes to Darlie. Just like the last part of this, Who's Lying, when Beja said that Darren used to steal things from Cuplex, you went right to, gee, how'd he get that stuff? Who's going to let him in there? You assumed that he was going in there, sneaking in and stealing stuff. Now he stealing stuff for move out. You don't think very. He knew he was getting ready to open his own business, so he was stealing stuff to have stock when he got open.
Like a peer, or like her. I watched her grow up, so I saw her learn and struggle and everything. Saw her early childhood.
Well, Kathy asked you. Answer me this. Tell us about Edward Neary, Nyiri. Tell us all about him. Tell us about Eddie.
You stayed in touch with Darlie Lynn as an adult as well, correct?
Yes, we wrote. She would see me. I would visit with her. When she came to Lubbock to see Cyrilda, it's like she had a Lubbock family of people and adults and friends that she knew and she visited. So when she came to Lubbock, she wasn't just, oh, I'm in a town where I don't know anybody. She had been here and gone to school here and went to high school, and we stayed in contact with each other as adult friends. I mean, we've been lifelong friends with her parents.
Okay.
So it's more of I know the family through the parents, and that's who I am more associated with, and of that age group. She's kind of
See, she goes into this Kamala Harris thing that just drives me nuts, but it's okay. Kathy would know about Dennis Stahl. And actually, she has told me about this story before Danelle was on the scene as much as she is now. And Kathy pretty much confirmed that he was touching her inappropriately back in the day. And I've discussed it with her. I just wonder what she says now.
And I hate to say it, but and I can't pronounce her name right. Basha. What's the correct Basha? The correct Polish is Basha.
Well, she'll answer to Beja or Basha, but her name is Barbara.
Okay. She was Darlie's older friend. So, her having friends of different ages. Because
if you listen to Beja's interview with me, she told Darlie to get friends her own age. She said she felt like she was a little too old to be hanging around with Darlie. And that's why Tammy, her daughter, was her friend more so than Basha.
Darlie Key is older than I am, was something she grew up around. And so as far as some people have said that, why did she have a friend?
There she goes. Whenever Rich tries to speak, she jumps up there.
Or they couldn't have been close because of their age difference. But she grew up with her parents.
She did it again. That's twice. He's trying to speak, and she right over him.
Having friends of different ages.
I think, if I recall, Basha Jabel is 3 years younger than Darlie Key, if I recall.
Right.
That's why Basha was telling Darlie that she needed to get friends her own age. She always wanted to hang out with Basha, and Basha just felt like she was too old to be hanging around with her. We get into that in part of this interview.
And so she, was not opposed to having friendships and being close to older as well as younger people and peer age. So she was a little bit, I would say.
Kathy, all Rich asked you is how you knew Darlie. Okay, look at that look on your face, Rich. Your body. I'm good at body language, buddy.
A little bit more progressive and sociable because she embraced everybody. That was kind of her, how Darlie was, and Darlie Lynn, and
actually it was Darlene. They say Darlie Lynn, but no, Mama Key calls her Darlene. Darlynn.
She had a good childhood. Her parents worked really hard to make sure she had the material things that she
Now let's hear about this good childhood. Let's skip right over Dennis Stahl and what Darlie testified to on the stand. Let's skip over it. That's not a good childhood when your stepfather's touching you, and then you told your mother about it, and she didn't do anything, and you resented your mother for that. That's not a good childhood. Sorry.
needed and a good education, and got to go on vacations and go camping and do all kinds of a bunch of different things.
And there were a bunch of different things, various different things. So would one of those be included?
She told me you said use shampoo. Which one? Is that okay to do?
Yeah. Let me go back here.
Had the material things that she needed and a good education, and
She went through high school. I mean, it's good, but what else did she do after that?
got to go on vacations and go camping and
It makes me wonder what happened inside of the tent. It was Sticky Fingers in there with her.
do all kinds of a bunch of different things.
Okay.
So
All right. Very.
So, Kathy, is there anything in Darlie's childhood that needed that could cause a sort of depression? Is there anything in her childhood, that she would benefit from therapy from? Anything like that?
Good. Yeah,
at
I
one
want
point
to explain some of that because there's been some questions on the non-support side. If you're really close to Darlie and her family,
No, it's not questions. Here's the bottom line. You can't sit and give a detailed account of how Darlie was with Devin and Damon when you don't see them that much. She told me the last time she saw them, she was at the house on Eagle Drive on Halloween of 1995. Now, if she's friends with Darla Key needed all the support she could get when she lost her 2 grandkids and her daughter was harmed and in jail. Was Kathy there for that?
as you claim. So I wanted you to explain some of that because another ordeal is that, and I'll give you the answer I gave some of the non-supporters, but I don't know that I'm 100% correct. I think it's
No, he's talking about me.
who should be answering those questions, not me. But some people claim, well, she didn't go to the trial. She don't visit her in prison. Da 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 da.
That's me. That's me said all that.
And I don't know if you're able to explain that stuff or not.
She told me that travel was an issue. And as far as the funeral, when I asked her specifically about the funeral, she told me she couldn't get off of work. That's what she told me in a chat.
Because people are definitely making comments about it. And my answer was, I'm not really certain.
His answer was that it's a 7-hour drive, and actually it's a 5.5-hour drive. They got to maximize everything.
To why that is, I don't know. But what I did say is that you're also 6-7 hours away just from Dallas, let alone Gatesville. Gatesville's even farther. And I know we talked before, you don't really like long distance driving and things like that, but is there anything you want to say to that?
well, considering the amount of time you get to see someone and visit with them,
4 hours.
I would be driving 14 hours to get to spend 2 hours with someone.
Well,
Yeah, but you'd be making their day. See, that's the thing. People incarcerated look forward to mail, phone calls, and visits because that's what gets you to the outside world. It makes somebody's fucking day when you come see them in jail. It really does.
4,
4 total. So that's a quite a big expense of both time and effort. And it's
So I'm too cheap and too lazy. Example, I had to get down and take care of some things in Texas. I stopped by and did my little stuff in Rowlett, and just alone, and I'm on disability, and just for the car rental alone for that Yukon that we needed to have, we couldn't have anything smaller, was $733. Then the gas, that thing ate gas. Now you can't tell me you don't have a credit card. I put some of that on credit. You don't have a credit card, you can pay it later to go see your friend who just lost her 2 kids.
the time in 1996. I had 3 children to raise, so it would have been even more expensive because I would have had to have brought my family along with me.
Well, again, thing is, there's an emergency. Your friend that you know so much about is laying up in the hospital. Her 2 kids are dead. You can't find somebody to watch your kids while you take care of that?
I've never been comfortable driving cross country by myself.
No money, no time. Kids don't like to drive.
It's just one of those, I hate to say it, those old Girl Scout things that were incorporated into my childhood is that don't leave home alone on a long trip.
Yeah, it's about
and choose your travel. And
that's the 4th time she's done that, Rich. Just yelling right over you. That is so fucking rude, isn't it?
choose your traveling companion carefully.
See, watch Rich's face. Becky, you're probably the only one in here watching me.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it just for me, to go from the Dallas area to Gatesville, it's about 4 hours, depending upon how many stops you make. Bathroom break.
But see, Rich is a friend, and he's made that trip several times. He likes to go see Darlie. He likes to lift her spirits up, and he hasn't known her since she was a kid. You have. So people will make time for things that are important to them.
And, if you want to stop and get something to eat, it differentiates. But you really, from Dallas, you got to go through. First of all, I live in North Dallas, which means I got to go through downtown Dallas, and then I got to go through Waco. And neither one of those towns are any fun to drive through by any.
No, they're not. And I'll tell you, I use GPS to avoid all the fucking toll roads, and I still got a bill for $21.50 from Enterprise Car. I think it was going back and forth across that bridge with Lake Ray Hubbard.
Stretch of the imagination. I actually hate it. And once you get past Waco and you start getting a little bit closer to Gatesville, it's very spread out. There's not much there. I mean, you can go 20, 30 miles without seeing a gas station or whatever.
He's going to do
and then once you get to Gatesville, I mean, that's nothing but a prison town. That's all that's there. There's just prisons all over down there in Gatesville. We go down to see Darlie, there's other areas of the prisons down there where, you can see inmates outside playing basketball and different various things from the road. You can actually see it. Where Darlie's
but it's not really
yeah, she jumps in there on him when he's talking. Yeah.
Tourist destination where you can take your children and have them go someplace fun and go to a state park.
There isn't a damn good place.
Yeah, you could just go have a vacation instead of see your innocent friend who might lose her life on death row. You can see, you go do all that. Go live it up. Why would you go see your buddy on death row that you've been your lifelong friend that might need to see your face?
To eat down there. Now, when I went down there the first time, I remember asking Darley Key, hey, is there, a good restaurant down
Tudor's Biscuit World. You know where there's a Tudor's Biscuit World? TUDOR. Tudor's Biscuit World. Go there. You'll love it.
here where me and Bonnie can eat? And she said, well, there's a like a country, I think she said it was a country family restaurant that she liked to go to. And
Is that the one where she met Charles Sanford in? There's a picture of him holding the book she just gave him. Media tried, justice denied. Shortly before he left his affidavit about not seeing things that were discussed. Is it that restaurant? Because he did meet her at a diner.
she said you could probably go there. And we found it. And oh my God, that place was elbow to elbow with people in there. Very uncomfortable. I didn't think the food was very good. And they had a country band playing in there.
All right, mental note to yourself: don't listen to suggestions from Mama Darley.
Which I thought they were absolutely terrible. With me being a musician, I thought they were just terrible. But anyway, there's a couple fast food restaurants. There's an Italian restaurant down there that's okay. They're not great. And then there's 2 hotels down there. And that's it. I mean, that is it. Everything else is prisons. And we stayed at was it a Holiday Inn, Bunny? Yeah, the Holiday Inn down there. There's 2 different hotels, and there was another hotel that you could stay at down there that was actually a little bit cheaper, but I didn't want to go any cheaper because you never know what you're gonna get.
Well, Rich, come on now. This is about the case, buddy. You're off in the hospitality land there.
You're going to get bed bugs, cockroaches, you don't know. So we stayed at the Holiday Inn, which we were very pleased with. But, we drive down there, spend the day, visit Darley, then just stay there overnight and sleep there, and then get up in the morning and come home. That's how we always.
And he's done that several times, and Rich makes decent money, but he's by far not a rich man. He makes time to do what's important to him. What's on his mind is going to see Darley. And that's fine, because he considers her a friend. So that's what you do when you have friends. You make time for them. Sometimes you make yourself uncomfortable to make your friend comfortable.
He did it and it worked well. One time we went down there for the whole weekend just so we could visualize and check things out down there. And it was one of our first visits. The first couple visits, Bonnie wasn't on the visiting schedule, and I was. So I was the only one Bonnie would come with me, but I was the only one allowed to go back and see Darley. And then shortly afterwards, she added Bonnie to the visitation schedule, so we were both able to go in and visit Darley at the same time, which was always nice, always very, very nice. But anyway, I don't want to keep yapping here. I want to get on with things here. So again, the regular podcast will be pre-recorded. This one will be pre-recorded and released for viewing at a later time. YouTube commenting will be turned off at this time. Now, when I've already talked to Annie about this, and the question and answer podcast will be occasionally scheduled and streamed live to answer.
Well, see, here's the thing, Rich, about having the comments off. All right. When you run a YouTube channel, if you get comments that you don't like or you feel are harassing towards the family, you can just delete them. You shut your comments off because you don't want to see it. The truth has no reason to hide. It's only the lie that wants to be kept in the dark. So, my contention is if you're so sure she's innocent, you'd leave that comment section open, and when somebody said something in there, you'd have the answer right there to own them with. if you're so sure she's innocent. It's turned off for no reason. Because you don't want to hear it. That's why.
Viewers' questions, which once we get through these interviews, we're planning on doing that. And it's quite a possibility as well that Diana will be rejoining us at a little bit of a later time, and hopefully that'll work out. Now, the reason why we do these podcasts, we do them pre-recorded due to past issues with rudeness, hate, and disrespect toward the panel, Darlie and Darlie's family, which that's something that is not tolerated here.
Again, I've never seen that. I've watched, I'm going through his videos and I'm not seeing it. This, to me, it's just justification for having your comments turned off. I get people come in my channel that are rude. Hey, tasty peanut. But you got to know how to handle the trolls. Now, I don't know why you do this. It makes your stance look weak. See, because I stand on the truth with my chest out, with a big old S on my chest saying, come get you some. My comment sections are open. I'll mail my comment section to you. I'll give you a pen to make a comment in my comment section. I want you to make a comment in my section. Because when I'm able to crucify you with the facts, it's exactly what I want. I can't do that if I got my pieces of tape over. I'm saying that she's innocent, she's guilty, and I got tape over every one of you supporters' mouths, so you can't respond to me. My channel is open to anybody that wants to debate this case with me. Anyone can come in and debate this. That's how sure I am of myself. I'm confident. This right here, Rich, that's just a lack of confidence, buddy.
Everybody that's on my panel also knows that they are not to be bad-mouthing non-supporters.
Yeah, well, they have, though. Tara used to call us morons, and Rich, you'd laugh at it, but that's okay. We could take that. This is a passionate thing. It's going to happen.
So we try to be fair about it and do it mutually. It's the best way to go. And I know that's the way Darlie would want it. However, it's also important to hear and understand both the guilty and the innocent sides of the case. And that's why we're doing this. And I had so much of an interest in it because BryanSt.John and BryanSt.John both believe that Darlie is guilty. Me and Annie believe that she is innocent. So we're both going to, you're going to hear their sides, you're going to hear our side. And also, me and Annie both have the pleasure of knowing Darlie Lynn herself personally and the family. And so did BryanSt.John. So let's see what side you may believe in once we're finished with this. Also,
I have to keep in mind, too, when you're observing this, who has a reason to lie? That's very important.
Mystery Maverick, you can join Tara on her YouTube channel. She does documentaries on the Darlie Routier case. That's ongoing. She's done a fantastic job with it. And she's no longer on the panel. She knows she's always welcome here, but she's no longer on the panel. And check her out. She's on there and has some really, really good, dedicated documentaries she worked very hard on to get them out, to get the truth out about the case. Also, don't forget, you can check Danelle out on her TikTok at Fugit1982. And
hey, Rich, let me ask you, is it true that Waddell was asleep in his cruiser when the call came in? Is it true that the medical examiner said on the stand that Damon could actually only live a maximum of 9 minutes on the stand? Is that true? Because we got them both from Mystery Maverick.
That is Darlie Routier's youngest sister. Check it out. There's some good stuff in there. Interesting talk and some good information on there. And if you also want to find out more about, family private things and stuff like that, Danelle's show is definitely the place to go. Danelle also frequents my podcast here, but she was unable to attend today. And also, let's not forget about the Darley Retier debate forum, which is ran by Annie and Jamie.
Except for if you go in there to debate, they tell you not to debate. They don't want to debate. Matter of fact, I was in there debating with him under another name, and they told me this is not a debate page. This is a support page.
And Annie's right here, and that's on Facebook. And Annie, is there anything you want to say about your debate forum?
It's
Everybody take a nap.
basically the same rules. You can disagree without being disagreeable. So we do have rules that you have to abide with. We do like to question people, like, where did you get that information, and what leads you to this conclusion?
Okay, Kathy, where did you get the information that Beja was breaking things at Coplex over and over and over again, that her work performance wasn't that good? Where did you get that information from?
From dividing what I call the wheat from chaff, because so much of what was presented at trial, while testimony may be truthful, it was how was it interpreted and what is the perception of it? What does it really mean? What did these people say, and then what is actually the truth? So we've gone over that through the transcripts of the trial and all kinds of different subjects, and debated the validity of the evidence and the interpretation thereof. So that's basically what and it does get heated sometime, and we do ask people to be respectful. And that's one of the things, what I think makes our page a little different is that we debate the subject, we don't debate the people.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's
Right.
not the people. It's how
All he did was ask her to tell about her page.
it's not so much what I used to hear a lot at work. Not what you say, it's how you say it.
Right. Definitely. And, there is one more thing that I would like to point out today, if I can find it. And I am not seeing it offhand here. So, anyway.
Wow, Rich moving right along.
I'm not going to worry about it right now. I know I have a slide, and I want to put it up and we'll probably do it on 72, about how you can write Darley. Darley, I'd love to hear from you. And you can actually do it digitally. Now, the system has been down recently for maintenance, but I think it should be back up by now. I can check on that. But I think it should be back up by now. And I expect a letter from Darley any day, because I just sent her a letter and some other stuff, and I'm waiting to hear back from her. But like I said, the system's been down. But I mean, Darley'd love to hear from anybody. But of course, just be respectful. Now, if I could get Bonnie over here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to move along and get back to the interview that BryanSt.John did with Basha Javel just recently. Mr. St. John had to come to Texas because from what I understand, he's initially from Texas. He had to come down here for some family reasons and take care of some things. And while he was here, he made the decision to get a hold of Basha Javel. They got together, and there's a couple interviews, and we're going to go through them bit by bit and see what's what with it.
The truth of the matter is, I was supposed to meet up with Rich, and we talked on the phone one day about the case, and I told him, after we talked for 4 hours one time, not too long ago, about the case. And it's interesting to hear his point of view. But I knew that it was possible that I was going to stop in Rowlett, some things to take care of in Houston. And I wanted to meet with Rich. Really, I wanted to meet at the cemetery. I wanted Rich and to be able to meet Basha at the cemetery just for a few minutes. And we were talking about that, and I got it all set up. And I had the dates, and we were talking about rental cars and all that. And I called him on Wednesday, and he didn't answer. And I kept messaging him, and he didn't respond. So I assumed that he was busy with his concrete business. When I was down there, I only had a limited amount of time, so I couldn't, I was all on a schedule. My schedule even got screwed up because I was set to speak to Jimmy Patterson, and I could only ask him what room he put the cuffs on her. That's it. He wouldn't talk anything else and get a picture shaking his hand. But I had that set up for a Tuesday in the hours between 12 to 5, and I had to cut out early and wasn't able to do that because I did it on Monday.
And Bonnie's going to get it all together right now so we can get it back up. This is where we left off on the last episode. And I want to make sure that everybody is able to hear things. So let me make sure the volume's all the way up. Looks like it. And here we go. We're going to start back at 8:58. And
come to think of it, it's probably a good idea, as much as I'd like to meet Rich and shake his hand and give him credit for sticking up for something he believes in, no matter what. That's good. But had Rich and I appeared on video or film together, shaking hands or something, he'd get all kinds of shit thrown his way. And I'm glad that I'm in a support system for Devin and Damon where people don't tell me who I can talk to or what I can do, what I can say. I don't have to check with anybody for permission about nothing. But you don't have to do that when you've got the facts on your side. You don't have to check for permission. They seem to think that they've got all this overwhelming evidence that's going to get Darlie out, but they can't talk about it because that could jeopardize the whole thing. So apparently if they say, hey, we have this evidence, then somebody could say something and mess it all up and they won't have that evidence anymore. You guys think about that.
And I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to just back it up just a couple minutes. We'll overlap it so we can make sure that we don't miss anything. All right, here we go. And Annie, if you want me to stop at any time, just say stop and we'll stop. And here we go.
Apparently the cop knew that Damon was dying, and he goes to her, Tom, hold this phone. He's, slipping away. And she stood there, and she was afraid to go up to Damon. And why? Because he could have pulled back.
Yeah,
I have.
He's going to disagree. But now, what I'm going to say is, Beja's giving her opinion of the account that was given to her.
Have to stop right there. And I think I said this toward the end of episode 70. How does Basha know that?
She doesn't know that. She wasn't there, Rich. She's giving her opinion. Maybe she talked to Darlie about it afterwards. I don't know.
How does Basha know that?
She knows that the same way Kathy knows Basha's work experience at Couplex. That's how she knows that.
Basha
no one would. You cannot tell me what another person would be feeling unless.
Oh my God, you do it all the time, Kathy. You talk about how Darlie felt all the time.
They said directly to you, this is what I was feeling at the time.
Yeah. Well, we don't know if Darlie told her that or not, so I don't know. See your point.
It's called supposition. She's injecting her into the evidence.
No, she's having a conversation with me She's not putting her opinion into any evidence anywhere. She's telling me what she thinks of that case, which is what Rich does for 71 fucking episodes here. She's talking to me. She's not talking to anybody about evidence that's going to do anything in the case.
And that's
Well,
not
and
allowed in
again-
court. It's not evidence. It's,
We're not in court. We're having a phone conversation.
it's opinion, and it's not based on assessing the facts.
Opinion is not based on assessing the facts. Well, here's what common sense would tell you. There's a reason why she didn't go help Damon. Because she didn't want Damon to recognize her and tell on her. That's exactly what Beja just said. We all think that. The police think that. I don't know what the hell you come up with. You Kamala Harris and this and all over the place.
Well, and again, we're not doing this to bash Basha Javel.
You can't bash Basha Javel. You can't.
You're going to see in later interviews, or actually live with Basha actually, standing there and talking with Bryan. Seems like a very nice lady, and she's
the sweetest lady. I felt so at ease when she came there with me. She was telling me some of the stuff about in Poland, how coming up as a little girl. She was just the sweetest, like a storyteller, like someone that I could learn something from.
She's old now, just like I think all of us are, but seemed like a very nice lady. I'm not disputing that in any.
She's nice as can be. She's nice as can be. I saw no sign of mental illness, like you guys said. She didn't seem like she was on pills or cocaine to me. She was very nice. When she opened that door to her house and saw me standing there, she greeted me with a warm hug and said, "Thank you for what you're doing for these boys." That's where her heart was. I wish I'd had film on that.
Anyway, I mean, I don't want to bash this lady. I know she loved those little boys, and Annie, I know you love those little boys. So the loss that had transpired between both of those little boys getting murdered, I'm sure affected you and Basha kind of equally in a round.
Equally my ass, Rich. Come on, man. Basha wanted to end her life over this. Equally would have brought her ass to Rest Haven. She wasn't going to go broke. Equally
about way because you knew him the same way.
No, Basha knew them more. She saw them more. She interacted with them more. Miss Basha, can I spend a night at your house? Has Damon ever asked her that?
And so again, we're not here to bash Basha. We don't want to bash.
You can't. You're going to try to
bash Basha. The reason why we're here is that there's things that Basha said that Darlie says something completely different.
All right, and Darlie's convicted of being a killer. Darlie didn't mention the towels or the CPR until they saw that the sink was gone. Darlie lied directly to you, Rich. She told you she came out on that porch and she passed out and left blood on that porch. And you spoke up like, "Oh, Darlie told me." You did that real quick. I guess you didn't read the transcripts that well because there's no way she did that. And she lied right to you. Right to you, Rich.
And we're going to kind of fill in for Darlie because sadly she can't be here to defend herself. So, and again, most all of these questions that Bryan asked Basha are questions that I requested Bryan to ask her, and he was nice enough to do it. So, moving forward here.
Yeah. She gave me a hand.
Yeah, she didn't help at all.
She stood there with the bloody rag on her neck and just didn't do nothing.
That's
Now, okay, Basha knows that, because she heard what the first responders were saying. That's how she knows that. Just like we know that. The first responders were saying that.
With all the responders that came in, that's David Waddell, Brian Koschak, Jack Colby, Larry Byford, and Sergeant Walling. They all saw her standing there, not doing anything to help.
Yeah, that's what Beja knows. That's how she knows that. Now, call that interjecting an opinion, Kathy.
Nothing.
Right.
She, and
Nothing.
and we noticed
But, normally if Darlie would have went up to him and tried to hold, he could have pulled back. And if he would have done that, she was aware of it too.
Yeah.
I believe she was. She's telling her beliefs. She was afraid to go up near Damon because Damon might look at her like that with the officer there.
Yeah.
I believe.
Well, I think that she knew Dan.
Well, and let's
Okay.
not forget Officer Waddell, who was the first police officer to arrive on the scene. He was actually in his patrol car just a little bit up the road when he had
1.9 miles.
heard about the emergency there. And so he responded to the call, and rightly so. And he was the first one at the house. And he actually stopped Darren at gunpoint in the front yard.
Darren swears up and down that never happened, Rich, to this day. If you listen to what Lloyd Harrell, crime fighter, says, that wasn't Darren in the front yard. That was an intruder. And that intruder ran off when Waddell walked in the house. Supporters like Darlie Key were passing that story before you were even thought of in this.
And took him back into the house. But that's a whole different story. But I seem to recall Officer Waddell telling Darlie to sit down. Okay. And you can hear these things in a 911 call. So,
well, he did. I do believe he told her to sit down. He needed to clear the house. And if you're standing up, you're more of a target than you would be if you were sitting down. Plus, if he had already told her, you need to help him. You need to help him. And she sees that he's just standing. He sees that she's just standing there. He of course, he's going to tell her to sit down. Yeah. Darlie says, I told Damon to hold on. And he said, I will, mommy. You hear the hold on part, but you don't hear the I will, mommy.
which, I mean, I'm not going to play that today because I got to be in the right mindset to play that because it's horrifying to listen to that 911
Rich, I'd like to point something out. This is the beginning of the building of a false expectation. Upon no other accident scene, traumatic scene, do I have an expectation of someone who is standing there holding a rag to their neck to be administering first aid.
I would expect it. I mean, I would, because those are your children. And maybe he didn't have too much of an expectation. He told her a couple times to help, and she wouldn't. So he just told her to sit down. Don't just stand there.
It's not sanitary for the victim or the person that is hurt. It is also not advised.
Damn, are you just going to yell over him like that? That's the 5th time she's done that, Rich. She yells over you.
Also not advised because your judgment, because you are a victim and you are bleeding, is altered. And you are an excited.
There, again, 6 times. You keep yelling over him.
State, you should not be giving first aid. What I want to ask.
Okay, so all right, now, yeah, she's not biased at all. You shouldn't be giving first aid. She's an extra helping hand. Anybody that can save Devin and David's life, if they're bleeding or not. You are you are so biased, fucked up.
Is if Waddell wants to say that she did nothing, why did he not get on his radio and call into dispatch and also reiterate the need for.
Why? Okay, if he reiterated the need, all right, Darlie had already told dispatch that her kids were stabbed, they're dying. Oh my God, they're dead. So Waddell, she thinks Waddell should call in and say, yeah, they're stabbed, they're dying, they're dead. She thinks that's going to make the ambulance go faster. Actually, what that's going to do is tie up the fucking line to get other cops there because Waddell's telling her something she already knows. She knows the kids are stabbed. She knows they're dying. She knows there's two of them. Yeah, you need to get here. These kids are stabbed. That's her mentality. That's Kathy's mentality.
Ambulances, because not only does he see bleeding victims, he sees someone who is not rendering first aid. Why does he not call for backup? There's a friggin' knife on the counter between him and her.
He didn't need to call backup. He knew that Walling was on the way.
She could leap towards him at any minute. I mean,
yeah, she could have.
Why doesn't he get the
She wouldn't get very far because they had his pistol out.
boys help if she's not?
Well, I think
where does
damn, look at her yelling over you, dude. That is so fucking rude. I'm sorry. That's rude.
The expectation in reality and common sense? I have never ever. You have to realize, hey, you cannot look at it from that point of view.
That's what I'm talking about right there, Rich. She tells you how you have to look at things. I said this the other day. She tells you how you have to look at things. You cannot look at this way. You have to look at it this way. That's what Kathy does. She's just doing it. She just did it.
And think that that is the only truth available. Perception is based on a person's reality.
A couple things here that I want to point out is, first of all, I think Waddell was in a state of shock. Anybody would be. Anybody would be. I
don't think he was in a state of shock because he had the wherewithal to try and get Darlie to help. He saw Darren was helping. He had the wherewithal to go towards where she pointed at. He didn't want to go out in the garage just in case there was an intruder out there. He may have, I don't think he was in shock, but I don't think he liked it much.
Into something so horrifying. I mean, I've seen the photos of the boy stabbed there in the Roman room, and it is absolutely horrible. It's horrifying beyond belief. However,
I agree. I think he was in shock, but you cannot
wait.
sit there and talk about Darlie had.
Yeah, Kathy, you need to have some etiquette while you're on this page because you've done this like 7 times to this man, and then over again on the other one. You jump over him. You just want to be fucking heard.
Some type of responsibility that she did not meet.
See, Rich is so nice that he's got what he wants to say right on the tip of his tongue, but he's waiting. He can't say, "I'd have done told her off."
Therefore, he's guilty.
The claim here is that Darlie did nothing. Now, how we can prove that that's incorrect? How we can prove that that's incorrect is this. Mr. Routier was giving CPR to Devin, who was sadly deceased by that time. At the time, the beginning of the 911.
And she led him over to Devin, too. He literally had to step almost over Damon to get to him. Devin, because Damon's alive. Which goes back to what Beja was said. She didn't want to go near Damon because he would recognize her. Go out in the garage. Devin.
I mean, Devin it looks like he expired pretty much immediately after the attack. His wounds were clearly fatal and instantaneously fatal. And thank God that poor little boy didn't have to suffer.
I agree.
Well, they would.
Wait. This is important.
You literally got to tell her to wait.
They say Darlie did nothing. Mr. Routier was giving CPR to Devin. He said that he testified and said that he went to Damon first. He could feel a pulse. He couldn't feel a pulse, but he's moving around a little bit. And Devin was pretty much out for the count.
I don't remember him saying he went to Damon first, but I'll have to look.
He was giving Devin CPR. Well, where did all the towels come from? Did they just magically float out of the drawer and go over to the boys? There's towels all over the place.
Yeah. She said she put one on the back of Damon, and there was none. None of the first responders. Darren didn't even see it.
Yeah, Darlie had a rag up to her neck. That's true. Evidence indicates that. But there's towels all over the place. There's towels in the hallway. You can tell that there was a panic going on.
Darlie said that when she pulled those towels out of that drawer, that most of a bundle of them fell on the floor. Then you had Darren walking through the crime scene. You know, you had first responder. Darren may not have seen it. He said he'd walk through the kitchen, and but Darlie did say that most of the towels, a lot of the towels, fell out because she grabbed one and a whole bunch of them fell out onto the ground. She did say that.
You can tell Darlie was doing something by the footprint evidence. And
yeah, she was over there cutting her neck and wiping down the sink, Rich. That's what she's doing. You only have the footprint going away from the sink, not towards it. She said she made several trips. No. Trick no good.
Towel evidence. Darren
She's on the phone to 9. She's on the phone to 911. How can you not say she's not doing any?
Hi, Nary. Nary's a good one to have conversations with about true crime. Okay, here's the thing about the 911 call. Just as I think Darlie was smart enough to know that if she was going to cut that screen, I think she's smart enough to know that she could use that back sliding glass door and step over and make that outside screen cut. Right? I think Darlie's also, Law and Order was one of her favorite shows, according to somebody. But she knows she has to call 911. She ain't got no choice but to call 911. And the longer she waits to call 911, the more suspicious it's going to look. She needed to call them right away, and she's aware that it's being recorded.
No one's telling her what to do. In fact, if they all said that she was standing holding the neck, she was not listening to Waddell either because he told her to sit down.
Yeah.
So, and she reported feeling dizzy. You don't want someone who is a victim or is bleeding or isn't even a victim. I mean,
and at the gravesite, she said, I wasn't worried about myself. I was worried about the boys. I was in shock. I wasn't worried about myself.
An EMT that cuts himself trying to get down to a victim, he's going to get his buddy to go down and do it because he shouldn't be administering first aid until he gets his wound under control.
And you run into the same thing because I noticed when I investigated the case, I seen a fairly sizable pool of blood on the outside of the front door.
What?
I'm like, where the hell would that come from? When I went down and visited Darlie, I asked her about it. I said, where'd that blood come from? She goes, well, when I was at the front door, I passed out. And the next thing I remember, I was getting put on a gurney.
No. She did not pass out. They did not pick her up from the ground. She lied to you, Rich.
And that's how that blood got there. Now, non-supporters are claiming, no, Darlie's lying to you. That never happened. Nobody testified to that effect.
No, Brian's saying that. It's not non-supporters. It's only me and you that talk.
Well, nobody testified to the effect of how the towels got all over the house either, but doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Darlie said that there was a bunch of them that came out in a bunch. Now, I would expect Larry Byford to say the patient passed out and we picked her up and put her on. I would expect Darren to say, I helped my wife out because she passed out. I would expect Koshak to say that, yeah, Darlie passed out. No, they helped her on the gurney is what it says. They pushed the gurney up and they helped her on it. It doesn't say they picked her up from the ground because she passed out. They said they walked her out to it, pushed the gurney up, and helped her on it. Period.
again, I go off of evidence, and there's a pool of blood there. That pool of blood got there somehow.
Are you sure it's not a towel? Show us that picture someday. Are you sure it's not a rag? But that pool of blood did not get there because Darlie passed out on the porch. Because she didn't pass out on the porch, Rich. And you want to believe her so bad, you can't help it. She lied to you. Read it. They pushed the gurney up and helped her onto it.
Plain and simple. It got, and I want to say, I wish I could show the picture, but it's hard to change these programs over. But the pool of blood was probably about the size of a softball, pretty sizable. And I mean, what Darlie's saying is, she said that she was there, and then all of a sudden she remembers getting lifted up and put on a gurney.
I tell you what. Now, she was standing at the doorway for a moment while they pushed the stretcher up that walk. If there is a pool of blood there, Rich, she had splurting wounds. She also had blood dripping all the way down her Victoria's Secret's nightshirt. If she stood there for more than, a minute waiting on them to get that stretcher for her, that's how that pool of blood got there, Rich.
Now,
well, that makes sense because as her legs became elevated, then that would restore some blood pressure, getting her into a prone.
Yeah, but her legs aren't elevated on the stretcher. You have to be elevated up over your heart. They're not elevated on the stretcher. She's laying down, Kathy, Nurse Kathy.
Position.
Well, her blood pressure in the ambulance, they took it in the ambulance. It was slightly elevated, but it was in normal limit.
It was 140 over 80. That's not very elevated, kind of elevated. 130 over 70 is perfect.
But I know blood pressure changes constantly blood pressure. And I know that having hypertension myself, but the point that I'm making is I go off of evidence. And you look at the crime scene, something happened there at that front.
Okay, if you go off of evidence, then you'll have to go off the tests that were conducted on that blood spot that you claim is on the porch. Not because Darlie told you there was blood there. That's not evidence. That's hearsay.
Door. Something happened. And I went to Darlie and asked her, and she told me. And it's true. Nobody testified to the effect that Darlie.
Nobody marked it. It wasn't in evidence. It wasn't tested. Nothing.
They had passed out at the front door. But what Darlie says transpired does make sense and does fit the crime scene.
And how's that fit the crime scene? How's that fit? There were like 5 people at the door with her. None of them said anything about Darlie passing out.
So I wanted to get on that because there's been some questioning about it.
There wasn't no questioning about it.
Moving forward here.
Amy was still alive when she called 911. And that's why
that's
now we're going to stop again right there. Now, Darlie had stabbed and murdered these 2 children. Why wouldn't she wait until Damon was dead to call 911?
Because they could guesstimate the time of death. They're going to wonder why she didn't call 911 quick enough. That's why, Rich.
Doesn't make any sense. Damon was still alive, even when the first responders came in there, even when the paramedic got in there.
She hoped like hell he didn't make it. That's why she led everybody away from him.
Damon was still alive, and they bagged him right there in the house and ran him to the ambulance because he was falling out really quick at that point. And I hate talking about this stuff because it's heartbreaking, but he pretty much drowned it in his own blood and bled out is pretty much what happened.
Yeah, because Jack says I could hear him trying to breathe. He was gurgling.
Well, sadly, even if the ambulance had been 30 seconds away, had been as close as Waddell was, they couldn't have saved either boy because the wounds were where they struck were
She's correct. And years ago, they used to say, the paramedics didn't even go in there, and they had to wait. They were mad because they had to wait for the scene to be cleared, and they could have saved them.
Especially on a child is much smaller. And so it's much easier for a child to sustain fatal injuries than it is for an adult.
It's so sad and horrible. It really is. It's awful. I give you a lot of credit, Annie, because I didn't know those boys, and it's heartbreaking to me.
That's the truth, Becky. Barry Dickey, when he took the background sound out of the 911, he could tell that she was running from room to room. That could be good or bad for her, really.
You knew those boys. I think it takes a lot of courage to be able to talk about it, because I know you love those boys. Okay, moving forward.
No response. You're more emotional than she is, Rich.
She hung out because she was crawling across her and saying, "Mommy." And wait a minute. No, to the couch.
Yeah, from the couch.
With the White House friend.
Right.
And the funny thing is that I told Darlie I said to the end, she was a little soldier without knowing yet completely what happened.
Yeah.
But her behavior was getting me nightmares. I was getting nightmares.
Well,
I don't disregard the fact that she was having nightmares, because that.
She said Darlie's behavior was giving her nightmares, Rich. Not the deaths of Devin and Damon. She was having nightmares about that, but she specifically said her behavior was giving me nightmares.
That is a really horrible thing for anybody to go through, especially with two little children. So I don't doubt that. It's quite possible. But she's stating that how Darlie was acting was giving her nightmares. I'd like to know a little bit more how she was acting. Let's see if
she already explained once beforehand about her eyes, and she says in the silly string, when you do that one, basically tells me standing right there. She said when Darlie started talking on that Joe Munoz graveside interview, he said she said I could see the fake right away.
I was going to tell us about that.
Nurses and doctors that treated her, they said that she did not act like a woman who had just had her kid murdered.
Yeah, you want to say something, Rich? Go ahead, because several of them did say that.
There were several of them that said she had a very flat effect, and she wants people to believe that Damon had these mortal wounds on him. He woke up in the middle of the night.
All right, hold on. There's two different big subjects there. It's interesting. And Brian's right. These nurses did testify that way.
That's right.
But they had in their nurse notes something completely different.
Here we go again with the focus notes. Focus notes are done by nurses through their observation of what they see as far as the treatment of the patient. Their opinions are not allowed in focus notes. She was weeping, very distraught, stuff like that. They can't say she was weeping, but she really didn't look like somebody that just had her kids murdered. They don't do that. And no focus notes anywhere, Rich. They testified their opinion. They wrote down what they observed.
Nursing notes. I've done podcasts on it. She was sorrowful, sad, frightened, hysterical.
Those are all things that you could be if you just killed your kids and think you're getting away with it.
And then all of a sudden they go in and testify in court after they meet the prosecutor, Greg Davis, at a hotel.
So what about the hotel? I don't get that. I don't understand why you even think that's a point. The defense is able to meet with their client as many times as they want. So is the prosecution.
Had a big meeting there, and then after that, all of a sudden they go in.
Rich, how do you know they had a big meeting there?
And testify, oh no, she wasn't acting like a woman that just lost her children, and da-da-da-da-da.
Two doctors da-da-da-da-da that too, that weren't in direct contact with the nurses. They very rarely went in the room. They did the surgery. He went in and visited her a couple times, but the nurses were in and out and in and out. Both the doctors, Dillon and Santos, said that she was not acting like someone, a mother who had just lost 2 kids. And they were totally in opposite areas of the hospital. They weren't in them. They weren't in Darlie's room all the time like the nurses were, and they saw the same thing.
I find that very interesting. That's not what the nurse notes say. Nobody can refute that.
Yeah, we're not trying to refute that. We don't have to. It was explained in court. Opinions do not go on focus notes.
Because it's not what the notes say.
The notes just don't say that she has a flat effect.
And it irritates me.
They think that Darlie's laying there and they want to believe that she's been attacked by someone. They don't know that police are looking at her. So, of course, they're not going to say, oh, she had a flat effect.
Me to hear this stuff. Nothing against Brian, nothing against Basha. The point of the
Basha didn't say anything about this, so.
fact is, look at the evidence. The notes say she was hysterical, sad, crying, hysterical, frightened. And I've done podcasts on it.
Could she not have been hysterical at one point and then this at another point?
I'd like to point something else out.
So the nurses are lying, right? As we're saying, Greg Davis had a meeting with them, and they're going to risk their careers and their freedom to lie in a court of law in a capital murder case. That's what you want us to believe.
Because flat effect is also very often used to describe autistic people, because it means a lack of an emotional response.
Well,
I hate to look.
There she goes again. Every time he tries to speak, she just yells right over him. It's so fucking rude.
When I was 14 and I lost my dad, my emotions ranged up and down all day long. And yes, you get to a point of emotional exhaustion, and you will. I would just have a flat effect where it's like nothing fazed me.
Yeah, your emotions were up and down because you just lost somebody.
I didn't respond to anything. I just and it wasn't that I.
This was your dad, not your 2 kids, and you weren't attacked. Okay.
Wasn't participating. There was just no emotional response. It was all wrung out of you. I couldn't respond. I was just, that's grief stricken. And I hate to say it, but when you take the truth and you want to assign nefarious actions to it, you'll use Harvard.
It really wants her to shut up. Look at those eyebrows coming together. The eyes just staring at the screen. The finger on his lips. He's biting his lip, literally.
The flat effect. Well, yes, but it's not exactly something that's beyond the stages of grieving and how people would feel once facing an emotional issue like this. So, yeah, the nurses didn't lie, but they only picked out one portion of something that they observed because their notes observe a whole bunch of different ranges that would be expected. And
the bottom line is the nurses didn't lie, right? You just said it out of your mouth.
As far as I would like to know how any of them were ever certified in what are appropriate ways for people to grieve and express themselves while they're in the hospital.
Well, saying someone had a flat effect, that has nothing to do with grieving. That has to do with what they saw. They saw a flat effect. It was surprising to them.
And they've suffered this kind of trauma.
And, well, here's the thing. Dr. Dillon said that he had treated many mothers who had just lost children, and they didn't act that way. Santos said the same thing.
Because we need to know what patient expectations are. That's part, I think, of our patient rights.
Yeah. Now we're going to also get involved where how Damon was able to get up. Let's listen a little bit further and then
I don't.
comment.
really, before we even get there, I want to point out that the ME did testify in trial that yes, it was very possible. And I can tell you from having a collapsed lung that it is possible to talk.
Me too.
And
Me
as
too.
shy as he was,
Wow, she just raises her voice over you, dude.
and the way he talked, it was like barely above a whisper. Anyway, he was very, very.
Okay, there's no doubt that they testified that yes, he could have talked. But this is a 5-year-old little boy who was just asleep. Sometimes you just wake a kid up, all of a sudden they start crying. He was just asleep. He feels these wounds on his body. And do we expect that he just walked over there? I didn't say he couldn't talk. I would expect him to be throwing a fit. Mommy, mommy, mommy.
Reserved. And he.
An example. There's a clip of Devin doing a flip in his front yard. Flips over and kind of lands on his leg. And he pops up and said, "Ooh, that hurt."
Nudged her shoulder and said, "Mommy, mommy." I'm certain he was able to get that out. He never said anything about there's a man. She didn't say he pointed. All he did was follow her. So I'm sure he was clinging to her leg and stayed with her until she told him to sit down.
Well, she didn't say he was clinging to her leg. He said he was behind her. So you can take the dramatics out of it and just stick with the case.
I want to tell the story because I asked Darlie face to face. I mean, she's a foot away from me. And I said, Darlie, I know this isn't easy for you, but I need you to tell me again what happened that night. And she said that she was laying on her back slightly to the left and she felt poking on her shoulder.
Even though she drew a picture of herself laying on her back completely for James Cron. If she's slightly to the left on that shoulder, then he's going to have to reach over and tap her other shoulder.
And she woke up. And it was Damon saying, "Mommy, mommy." Well, obviously she got up right away. Now she doesn't know at this point that she's hurt. Or that, Damon's hurt or Devin's hurt.
Yeah, because Darlie slept through that. She slept through a guy punching her up and down her arms, giving her a stab wound in her chest, upper chest, 2 slices on her neck, 2 slices on her arm, and she slept through all that. But the words "mommy, mommy" woke her up.
But as she was getting up, she seen a man walking away from her and, walking, around the corner to, head into the kitchen, into the utility room, back to the garage. And she had gotten up and she said Damon was kind of walking right behind her. And she told Damon, "Stop, you stay right here. You stay right here." Well, needless to say, that's where he was found later. So he probably pretty much collapsed there. And Darlie went along and, she got to the utility room. She seen the knife, picked it up, turned on a light. Now she sees blood all over her. She knows she's injured. And, but that's the story. Now, let's look at the evidence. If you look at Damon's clothes, his shirt and pants that he was wearing at the time of the attack, you can clearly see, and I've done podcasts on this, you can clearly see the blood streaming down the back and down his butt and down his legs. Well,
I would have to. I mean, that doesn't mean that he was standing up, but he is right. It does show that it soaked the back part of his pants. He could have got the same blood, to run down his pants as he's laying on his back, like Darlie said. She said I could see that he was stabbed in the back. And she said he was laying on his back. So if that blood was probably moving around as he was still moving around a little bit. It doesn't prove that he was standing up, though.
The crime scene photos. So he had to have been standing up at some point. He had to have been. How are you going to lay down and the blood run down your pants? It's going to run across the side because he had six.
Or he could have stood up as she was stabbing him and tried to get away from her, which is probably why he was found 25 feet away from where he was originally stabbed at.
Stab wounds in his back. And a few of them were fatal, and a few of them probably were not fatal. I'm not a medical expert, but I'd have to think a couple of them were not fatal, but there was a couple that probably definitely were, obviously, because he died shortly after this. But what Darley said transpired matches the evidence. Okay. And so many people over the years, oh, there's no way Damon could have got up and touched. Well, you see a handprint where he got himself up, a bloody handprint. It's his handprint.
Yeah, it is his handprint. And like I said, Devin was killed instantly. Damon traveled 25 feet from one spot to another. Could he have, and he was in the back. Could he have been trying to run from her?
And, again,
and it's facing the couch, the opposite direction from where he would have been headed. So if he stood up and turned and went the other way towards the area where he was found and didn't touch his mother, then you wouldn't find his blood on the couch approaching her head. And her head, this is what a lot of people get wrong, was not facing the TV. Her head was closest to the TV. And when she was laying,
she was laying. She was facing towards the. If she sat up, she could see the utility room and the bar there. We knew that.
On her left side, she's facing that back sliding glass door window with the blinds on it.
That is correct. And that's exactly what the evidence shows by her nightshirt. Exactly. You got her throat was cut from here to here, give or take. This is the area. However, all the blood pooling is on this side on the back and then running down. If you look at the crime scene evidence of Darley's nightshirt that she was wearing that night.
Well, I'll counter that with this. You say that there was a spot of blood on the porch, which means, according to that blood being on the porch that you say was there, which means that Darley was still actively bleeding pretty well when she got on that stretcher, or there would have been no blood on that porch. If Darley's laying down on the stretcher, the blood is rolling downwards, more so on one side than the other because she's laying down. Also, some of that blood got on more of the shoulder part of that because of the way she was holding the phone with her chin. That's possible, Becky.
She is standing up.
Becky says Damon heard his brother being attacked and tried to get up and get away.
The sink, the blood will be coming down. Now, there is blood coming down the front of that shirt. But the point that I'm making, but she did get up later and start running around with the towels and the first responders and so on and so forth with the horrible, indescribable pandemonium that was going on. But if you look at the back of the shirt and the pooling and the blood running down, that makes perfect sense as to what Darley said had transpired. Perfect sense. It matches the evidence perfectly. Okay.
As well as the large pool of blood that is right next to Damon's handprint. That's the largest pool on consistent pool on scene of a continuous blood deposit. that indicates a person being still and bleeding for a while,
Right.
Well,
and that
and
would not have
there's
come.
something else I want to well, see, and that's why I believe Darley was attacked first, and then the boys were attacked because it took a little bit of time for that blood to run around, soak, start.
Okay, so Darley was attacked. Then the boys were attacked. Damon was able to get up and walk over to Darley while that intruder was still standing there. Darley says the boys were attacked first, Rich. You need to give that one up.
Running down the shirt, everything else. I mean, it's actually a matter of seconds, if you really want to think about it. But the point I'm saying is, I believe that Darley was attacked first, and then the boys were attacked.
So you don't believe even what Darley said?
Afterwards. That's my opinion. I want to make that clear. Now, so many people, and I know what's going to get said out of this. Well, how come Darley didn't wake up when she was attacked? This has been a big argument for 30 years.
It's not a big argument, Rich. It's a big hurdle you guys can't jump over.
Darley Lynn would be the first to tell you, I know I didn't sleep through that. Nobody could. And she didn't say she slept through it. She never said that. She said
She just has no memory of it.
She
no
couldn't
memory of it.
remember. She can't
It's
remember
called-
what happened. Now, if you look at Diane Downs' case, if you look at Susan Smith's case, both ladies who were guilty of sin, and
they both had other men they were interested in.
I mean, they're in prison, and rightly so. They gave a full description of their killer. Full description. Susan Smith said it was an African American male with a hat, and Diane Downs. I don't exactly know exactly.
A bushy-haired stranger type of thing.
I mean, that case is kind of old now.
But then, okay, I'm going to counter that with the where the hypnotized therapy that she got. And they got a word for it. Starts with the R. In that, Darley mentioned two men, and she described one of them as being dark.
But it's older than Darley's case, a lot older, actually. I think that happened in the 80s, didn't it, Annie? Diane Downs?
I think so. It was quite a.
Yeah, I think it was the 80s when that happened.
I'd say it. A current case that's similarly sensational is the Vallow case. It gained as much media attention as well. As far as these people.
Oh my goodness! Please shut up.
Were both upright, conscious, and operating under their full faculties when all of this happened. So Darley was asleep.
Yeah, regression therapy.
And the brain going into a traumatic.
Oh, here we go, Kamala Harris again.
Amnesia. This is the perfect recipe for it. Because while we're asleep, we are at our most vulnerable, and that is a very deep human instinctual fear.
I'll tell you what, my wife is at her most vulnerable when she's asleep because she sleeps with her mouth open.
Animals as well. That's why getting attacked in your sleep can often respond in a fight for flight situation to a person, and that's the type of instinct kicking in that if you couldn't handle what was going on, your brain wouldn't let you make a memory of it because that's to protect the psyche.
Yeah, Becky, when you're looking around on the internet, look up brain fingerprinting. This is a service that they've had since 2007. It's like a lie detector test. But this thing can tell when you're trying to tell a lie. your brain triggers somehow when you're about to lie, and this thing picks up, and it has convicted people, it has exonerated people. The FBI uses it, but it's called brain fingerprinting, and I've suggested it many times for the Darlie Routier case. They won't even discuss it.
It's scientifically proven that can happen. So, everybody said, well, Darlie says she was sleeping. Darlie never said that. She never said she was sleeping when she was attacked and didn't wake up.
Okay, Rich, so she didn't hear it.
Darlie never said that she slept through it. She said that she was asleep when she was attacked, and she has no memory of seeing her boys attacked, of a face of who attacked her, what order they were attacked in. She cannot give you.
Well, how did she not hear any of that was going on to her body? But she could hear, "Mommy, mommy." She can feel a tap to her shoulder, but she can't feel a stab to her chest. Makes no sense to me. She said when he tapped her on the shoulder, she said, that's when I really came awake.
Integral information because she doesn't remember it. And she only remembers pieces and parts. Because of the pieces and parts include her coming to more than once, I do agree with you, Rich, that I think she was attacked twice. The first time might have been just the knife slit, and then the boys, and then she might have stirred on the couch and they realized it, got on top of her, held her mouth closed, or put a pillow or something over her mouth, and stabbed at her arm and her chest.
She sat up and then had a pillow shoved in her face. Kathy, that's just fucking stupid. I'm sorry, I don't know what other way to say that. That's just dumb.
So, the wounds being different on the adults and the children doesn't surprise me because the position an attacker would take.
No, it's not the wounds that are different. It's the whole entire method of attack that's different. MOA, method of attack, is different on the boys than it is on Darlie. And Derek Levasseur, one of the young Rhode Island detective from Crime Weekly, he said the same thing.
To attack them compared to their location on the floor.
Yeah.
And that she was on a couch, and therefore you've got the arms of the couch and the back of the couch and a semi-soft surface upon which you're struggling. So you have to put everything into context and look at the position an attacker would have.
And again, you have to she tells you what to think. You can't think like that. You have to look at it this way. That's what she's got a habit of doing.
Have to take. It'd be very hard to probably attack her a second time on the couch once she started stirring. It's also some indication there could have been two because of the speed of getting away and difference in
Can't even put one in there.
Knife imprints or tool marks on the wounds themselves. So a lot of I feel like a very good investigation was not done. And once again, I don't want to bash anybody here, but a lot of the information that Basha is bringing up is not information she would have known prior to trial. She's learned all of this post-trial. Just like
No, you're fucking wrong. She knows what she saw Darlie going through. Okay, she was right there, and she saw it escalating before the trial. She knew something bad was going to happen in the house. She testified and she told them to get help. This is where you're fucking wrong, Annie Oakley.
I've learned a lot post-trial, but I try to take my personal attachment to the family and my friendship, my bias away, and look at the who, what, when, where, and the sources of where this is coming from. I take everything into that account. This is simply
everything that Rich has learned and is talking about has been stuff that happened after the trial. So put that in your pipe and smoke that shit too.
I support the prosecution standpoint. It's not new testimony or firsthand information because she couldn't have known any of these things. These are just her perception of the reality what she perceives as reality. She perceives Darlie as a killer and went for the story that the prosecution fed her.
No, that's where you're fucking wrong. Okay, this is what irritates me. You didn't read her testimony at all. The prosecution didn't feed her Darlie's journal. She knew about that before Greg Davis. The prosecution didn't feed her the fact that she was contemplating suicide. She saw that before she saw Greg Davis. The prosecution did not feed her anything that she didn't see herself. That's where you're wrong, and that's where you're disrespecting Devin and Damon right there. She's just going on what the prosecution fed her. She's going on what she saw. She was there. You weren't there. You don't know Darlie half as well as Beja does. You weren't offered maid of honor. And don't give me that fucking shit about, oh, I suggested it, so Darlie did it. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. This is what pisses me off right here.
And I'm sure she was pressured or to testify against Darlie, and I'm sure they convinced her to do so.
They didn't convince her of shit. She knew something was happening in that house before she met Toby Shook. Matter of fact, you can read the testimony. Toby Shook told her not to get into certain things. Read it.
So I don't think she went to the police and said, "Hey, I think Darlie did it." I'm sure that
she went to the police. They came and talked to her, and then they asked her to get some financial records, and she did go to the police with the financial record.
They approached her and told her, "We know Darlie did it, and we need your help."
And what? And I don't see your point.
Okay, well, I mean that's a question maybe Mr. St. John can ask her about. All right, moving forward.
And because that's exactly what they did with the nurses when they all got them in the same room.
Come on. Can you prove that they were all in the same fucking room? As a matter of fact, if you read through the testimony, it'll tell you that they met at different times. Who cares if they were in the same room? You think a prosecutor is going to put someone on the stand that they haven't talked to first? That'd be a dumbass prosecutor. That's what you wanted. But you got Greg Davis.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So you're trying to say that Greg Davis convinced Basha after Basha seen, she knew Darlie was getting escalating. She kept seeing it get worse and worse and worse before she met Greg Davis. The fuck out of here, Kathy. That's annoying. I'm sorry, Rich. That's annoying.
And she wants people to believe that Damon had these mortal wounds on him. He woke up in the middle of the night to stab wounds, and he just walks over to her and taps her on the shoulder.
First of all, there wasn't nowhere to walk. He was laying right there.
Okay. You expect us to believe that he got up with mortal wounds to his back and just tapped his mother on the shoulder. We can take the walk out. Let's, with the, what do they call that? Semantics.
And he got up. You could see the handprint, and his mom was right there. He could have very easily just reached over and touched her on the shoulder.
Right. I don't expect that to happen to a child that's got mortal wounds in their back and just got woke up at 2:30 in the night. Suddenly. That's what I don't believe.
He didn't walk over there. Now,
okay, you get off the word walk. Because what he didn't do is scream bloody fucking murder like he should have been.
from the couch to where he collapsed, if I recall, I think it was 25 feet. From where he was stabbed to where he was found was 25 feet.
He's not screaming, and she wakes up to that. She wakes up to the little boy, tapping her on the shoulder, but she doesn't wake up to the guy beating her arm. She doesn't wake up to the guy.
Well, Darlie, again, never said she slept through it.
Okay, so she didn't hear any of it. She didn't react to any of it. Let's put it that way. Let's take the word sleep out. You want to play word games? Let's take that out. She didn't react to it. She just laid there.
You just don't remember it. Well, there it is again. She didn't wake up.
Sitting on top of her. Yeah, but when she was in the kitchen, she was really
All I know is it starts out with I was sleeping on the couch.
When he went out to the couch, she went and finished him up.
Wrong. There is absolutely no proof of that. Even if Darlie was guilty, which she's not, there is no proof that Damon was attacked a second time. There's
no proof of it. We can't literally prove it. But when you use the common sense approach, all right, we can't prove that he was attacked twice. But that's what we think, that's what we feel, and that's what our evidence lines up with.
Absolutely no proof of that whatsoever.
Yeah.
No expert ever testified to it.
No, it's just
no expert testified it. It's a theory that was put forth by Greg Davis, and it's a theory, and a theory is not evidence. And he never proved this second attack, nor is there any cast off on the walls, nor is there any cast off on her. And how could there not be? If she got a micromillimeter of cast off from the 2 wounds inflicted upon Devin, how could she not get cast off on her from 6 wounds inflicted upon Damon?
Shouldn't be on the back of her shirt for no reason whatsoever. None. Don't give me that shit about the paramedics and their gloves.
It's just mathematically impossible to follow the logic. It's all based on supposition, and that this theory is right. Now, I can't find the evidence that supports it, but only if it happened this way will it fit into a timeline, will it fit into what the blood
What in the fuck is she talking about?
spots I've picked out and the way I've interpreted the evidence. Well, no, the evidence has its own interpretation, and you can't add to it, because that's not expert testimony. That's forcing an opinion.
Well, you just said a minute ago, you claim they're experts, and then when it suits you, they're not experts. No expert,
and not establishing a fact.
She said no expert testified to that. Now they're experts again.
And there's a difference between opinion and fact. A fact really doesn't have an emotion. It'll just tell you what something is.
Right. Okay. Moving forward.
Say that
I tried to finish him off, but they just didn't succeed it.
We feel like that she attacked him twice. We feel like that after she ran that sock down the alley and came back, she saw Damon moving away, and so she had to.
Devin apparently
That is all speculation. That is all.
It's not speculation. It's what we think happened. See, your whole case, your whole stance is on speculation. Everything is on speculation on your side.
And he says that. Brian says that. He said, we feel.
Well,
So he's saying,
he said feel, but that's the thing. We feel. We feel.
Yeah.
We can't prove it, but we feel. Okay.
That's why I said we feel, dumbass. We think. That's why I didn't say it's been proven that. We feel.
Hey, I don't want anybody in prison because you feel. I want some proof. Show me.
Okay, well, that's not what got her put in prison. About we feel she attacked Damon twice. That's not what got her put in prison. Okay. I know she used that serrated knife and cut that fucking screen. That I know. I don't feel it. I know it. Now what?
That she did. Show me the how this happened, and then I'll believe it. But you can't take something and say, yeah, it had to have happened this way.
I didn't. I said I feel.
In order, here's your answer. Well, prove that it happened that way. And
No, you got to prove things didn't happen the way you say. I feel like she attacked him twice. By saying I feel like that, I'm recognizing that I could be wrong.
if you can't, then that's all it is, supposition.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Immediately. But Deb.
Yeah, and she was talking about Devin pretty much died. He had died, and Mr. St. John said right pretty much immediately, which is true. I mean, he was stabbed through the heart. Pulmonary arteries were severed. He was also stabbed through his lung, and the blade actually went through a rib and breastplate. So I know Darlie, and I everybody knows that, and
Rich. So when was the last time you and Darlie went for dinner? When was the last time you visited her family, her house, with her there? Inmate F9336, whatever it is. You don't know Darlie.
I see these tiny little hands and this tiny little woman, and she is a tiny little woman. She is not very big, like tall wise. And she doesn't look extremely strong. Well, I'm going to tell you what, you take the kind of a knife, which I have a replica of it, and try to stab through a body, through bones and organs and breastplates.
Got to be a big old strong intruder. That's why they came up with the story that it went through one of the boys' body, through the carpet, and nicked the concrete. That's why the family was agreeing with that false narrative on the Lisa show. The force of the knife was so strong that it went through one of the boys' body into the carpet and the concrete floor below. And Darren says, yeah, I know. And Darlie Key back there shaking her head up and down. False narratives. They wanted us to believe that poor little old tiny Darlie just couldn't do that. Ronda Rousey is also kind of tiny, Rich. Look her up.
And ribs and everything. That is not an easy task. That takes strength and power and rage to do that. Just wanted to point that out. And if she had done it, she would have had marks where the bottom of the knife would have been hitting her hand. She would have
Not necessarily
had marks there with that kind of force. You got to remember now, Devin
but there was a knife slip.
Had 2 fatal stab wounds to the chest, and Damon had 6 wounds to his back. And I'm not.
Do you think that maybe after she stabbed Evan and went through the rib cage and into his chest wall and rib cage, do you think that's when she dropped the knife right next to him? When it slipped?
Medical professional, but I would have to assume 4 out of the 6 were fatal. But she had no marks on either one of her hands where the knife would have come back and put pressure on it. You're not going to go through a bone and not have a mark on the bottom of
tiny hands that ripped a Rolodex at Darren.
your hand from a knife. I tell you, that's not going to happen. And it don't happen.
And also,
And Damon died on the way to the hospital. The guy felt sorry for him, and he removed him out of the house.
Devin had
Because
defense.
his little soul don't linger.
Devin had defense wounds. He fought back.
I agree with Mr. St. John. The evidence indicates that by looking at the autopsy.
I agree with that too. And one of the things that, in true crime, like Bella Watts, CC and Bella Watts, Chris Watts, the father that killed them both, one of the sayings was that Bella fought back. The Bella did fight back.
Photos. And we're not going to show those today because I don't show those unless I give prior notice, because the family does watch this podcast and close friends of the family, things like that. And also with Annie here being friends of the family and love those little boys, I don't like putting them on here without them knowing first, because they are horrible and they are vicious.
According to the ME, the wound, the defensive wound, or the wound she classified as defensive, she also clarified under
Damn. Clarify.
testimony.
He's
literally putting his fingers up to his lips.
Talking a minute. I got to use the restroom for a second, not to rudely interrupt, but I'm going to use the restroom. Please tell folks what you're thinking here.
Okay. The medical examiner who called the arm wound defensive wound clarified that she felt it was an instinctual defensive wound, that the arm came up as the weapon penetrated, and that was how it was cut. The wound on his leg, which is about in his thigh, was more of a scraping type than it was any kind of penetrating by the knife type wound.
Right.
So it is thought that it was possible that Devin got up and that was when the table got knocked over because of him fighting back, and that is why he was not in his original position with his head on his pillow facing the right direction. So the evidence would support that he did have defensive wounds, while one was instinctual, the other was not. And
instinctual means reflex.
So there is unanswered questions in that. And I felt if you look at the angle of
Rich wants to talk.
Entry on a photo that's in Media Tried, Justice Denied, you would see that it's a very difficult angle to achieve if you're bent over somebody on all fours, as Bevel portrayed Darlie had to be in order to get the cast off on her shirt.
Look, Rich is trying to talk.
That would be a near impossible angle by which to inflict with a lot of force that type of wound.
Well, I agree with Tara DeCourtney on that. She had said on one of my, and I love this. I love this because it fits the point that she was trying to get across. Where's the effing cast off? Where's the cast off at?
You don't always get cast off.
But anyway, that's for something else.
All right. What I'm gonna do is I went an hour and 2 minutes of this. I'm gonna finish up the other 40 minutes tomorrow, only because I got to go to bed. I'm tired, I'm fat, and I'm old. But I hope that I'll get some more views on this tomorrow. I'm glad you were here. Not that book, I'm glad you're here, Becky. You're like the number one sub that I got that always interacts. And I appreciate that. I'm gonna finish this up tomorrow. Peace and chicken grease, y'all.